You're listening to the most fraudulent F1 podcast with Dan, aka Engine Mode 11.
I secretly moonlight as Helmut Marko at race weekends.
And Blake, aka Brrrake.
Echo chambers of farts and idiots on Twitter after races.
It's the Engine Breaking F1 podcast.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Welcome to episode 5, I think we're at now. I'm already 5 episodes in. I fucking lost count already. But yeah, you know, hey, welcome to the Singapore Shithouse Grand Prix. I am Engine Mode 11, aka Dan, and with me is my beautiful social media husband and ex-Red Bull colleague, Brrrake, aka Blake. And yeah, I think that was a race where basically nobody wanted to win. Everybody just wanted to punt it into a wall or spin off, right?
Nobody actually really wanted that race enough. I think other than maybe Checo and good old Chuck, my boy Sergio and Chuck, those guys wanted it, but at the end of the race, we'll get to that. I don't think Chuck Leclerc wanted it that bad, did he?
No. It's he wanted to keep up his terrible stats for his pole to win conversion.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we've got some other stuff before we get to the race, but there's so much absolute, like, I think the general consensus from everybody in the live stream was that the race was like maybe mid to a 7, not terrible, not great, but at the same time, there was some absolutely grand shithousery during the entire Grand Prix. Russell had a couple great ones. The Gotifi, brilliant. Lewis with a couple ones. Max, you know, the first time we're seeing Max like making mistakes this season. Is that safe to say? Did we say that?
No, I think it's safe to say this weekend was one of his bozo weekends.
Yeah, but everybody gets one, and honestly, it's like kind of like scenario where you don't actually have much to lose at this point. Like it's realistically almost a formality at this point to get the championship. But we have said goodbye to Sebastian Vettel's 9 in a row to tie it or beat it. So
yes, we did lose that. That's a shame, but at least that means Vettel, you know, his record will live on after he's gone to create his Sebastian Vettel secret special honey.
Ooh,
whatever it is he's doing when he retires.
Love that. So last week we took a little week off without the break, and we had a little Singapore preview episode, and I thought that was a lot of fun. So when we have non-race weekends, we'll try to get into that. And thank you guys for all the interaction and love on the podcast. I got a shout out for Mike coming through with some excellent some beer suggestions from a UK brewery called Beak. I'm enjoying one of those right now, and if I'm not lying on the floor at the end of this, so be it. And Mark actually from the US hit me up and said he's got some spare Friday tickets going. So and I'll get back to you on that, dude. Thank you guys so much. And also we've got Annie helping us out, posting our social media to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube shorts are all getting pumped out to you literally every day. So if you like any of those weird social media short form content platforms, be sure to follow us on your favorite one or all of them.
Yeah, it's because we're too fucking boomer to understand how TikTok and YouTube shorts work, to be honest.
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm 37, and I remember during COVID, my girlfriend was like showing me like, hey, this is TikTok. I'm like, that looks like crap. Don't even show me that. And then now I have 3 different TikTok accounts for gaming, Formula One, and now the podcast. So
yep.
I hate my life. I'm literally in the pit of despair right now with socialist medias. So another one on the front of social media, actually a little milestone.
Yes, yeah. Do you want to big up everyone that's been supporting the Engine Breaking YouTube channel? I say, do you want to do it? But I've pretty much just fucking done it myself.
Then tell them.
Okay, I'm going to fucking tell them. So
do it.
Basically, we applied for the YouTube partner status today, thanks to all the love that you guys have been giving us on the YouTube.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely fraudulent. There's no way anybody actually likes this podcast. So I'm sure that you guys are paying for the bot views for that channel. So
yeah, industry plants, I think was the term.
Quick stop. Love you guys.
Yeah, we've had our phone call from Marko. He knows what we want to push. You know what our agenda is for today. No cost cap has been broken, and it's all deflammatory.
Deflammatory.
I'll hear no more about it.
Oh my god. So yeah. Why don't we get into the news, shall we? You wanna lubricate us up with a little bit of the latest goss in the paddock?
Yeah, so we've had a Canal Plus and then Albert Fabriga. Sorry, my chest infection is kicking my ass yet again.
Oh, dude.
Gasly to Alpine and De Vries to AlphaTauri. Apparently, both those sources are fairly reliable, and apparently they're both going to be announced at Japan.
Arigato.
Yeah, so the Yuki and Gasly breakup is going to happen in Yuki's own backyard.
I'm actually devastated for him.
Yeah.
He's had a tough weekend in Singapore, and now his Formula One husband is their bromance has been actually very cool, and I just fucking love it. I love those guys.
Yeah, well, luckily Yuki's parents are probably going to be there to soften that blow of that bromance.
Yeah, I got you. They'll be there to embrace, cuddle.
Yeah, so that's happening. But let's be honest, the biggest thing that's kicking off at the moment is this supposed budget cap breaking by supposedly
allegedly
Red Bull. Yeah, allegedly by Red Bull Racing and Aston Martin. So the timeline of this, as I understand it, is that on Friday, Germany's Automotor und Sport came out with a report saying that two teams have allegedly gone over the 2021 budget cap.
Genau.
And the paddock rumor was it was Red Bull Racing and Aston Martin. Then on Saturday, it all kicked off with our two favourite fraudsters, Toto and Horner.
Yo, shout out.
Yeah, big up them two. It's good to see that their breakup is still acrimonious and not at all toxic.
Oh, scheisse.
Red Bull said that it's all just speculation. And then the FIA decided to step in and say, basically, shut the fuck up. We've not decided anything yet. You have to wait till Wednesday for this all to be concluded.
They basically said, all you stupid Twitter rats, stop adding us with the hashtag F1X. Like, I'm so sick of this. They're like, just shut up, guys. We'll get back to you later. I don't know who the freaking paddock rat is that leaked this allegedly, but we'll get back to you. It wasn't me.
No, it was us. It's basically they went over the budget cap because they had to pay us off.
Yeah. I didn't get paid off, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, shit.
How did you think I afforded this brand new microphone?
Thanks for the 50 gifted the other night, too. Holy! Or should I say, thank you, CH. Appreciate it.
Yeah. See, industry plants. Aston Martin, I think this is a hilarious thing. I think all this drama, I don't think anyone's actually I didn't see Sky or anyone talk to Lawrence Stroll or anything. It was all just fucking Christian and Toto. So yeah, that was wild. But apparently Aston Martin said basically, we've submitted our 2021 reports. They're in discussion with the FIA and they're awaiting certification.
When did they submit that shit? Like 6 months ago? Because Willys was late on it and they got slapped with 25,000 euros.
Correct.
It's
yes.
Like, how are you guys just sitting on stacks of paperwork and being like, we'll get an intern to look over this because we'll hire students because we're also cheap asses.
Exactly. Yeah, I believe end of March was when they had to give it in.
Big shout out Tony Cohen Brown. She says it was 8 months ago. Excellent Formula One content creator, among many other things. And I'm sure we're gonna have her on the show at some point too. But if you
100%.
if you're not following F1 Tony on TikTok, get involved. You will not regret it. And if you do regret it, I don't like you. So that's it. But it was the little shithousery though was, despite the fact that nobody's actually talked to Lawrence Stroll about this, or like that nobody gives a shit, because it's like nobody cares about what Aston Martin are doing. It's not interesting. That doesn't sell headlines right now. Where are they in the Constructors' Championship? They're kind of like out there right now. But if they can throw Mercedes, Ferrari, or Red Bull under those headlines, you're going to drive those clicks. This is all about that. But on the grid today, before the race start, there was a certain Christian Horner and Lawrence Stroll chatting, and it was a good opportunity for somebody to do a little voiceover dub. So
the team up, you never know you needed is happening.
Yeah, dude, imagine it's like, hold on, let's do this one.
Do you want to form an alliance?
Was that Christian or Lawrence?
I think that sounded a bit more like Lawrence.
Yes, I would like to form an alliance.
There you go, that's Christian, yeah.
Okay, cool, got it. But yeah, That's funny
so
though.
it's going to be Lawrence Stroll, Christian Horner versus Mattia Binotto and Toto Wolff. That's a tag team match I think I can get behind.
Is this a cage match where they're gonna have like the barbed wire bats and the folding chairs?
Yeah. There's plenty of folding chairs and shitty tables in the garages, so they've got plenty of kit.
They're gonna use F1 Ellie's gaming chair to knock the shit out of each other.
Exactly.
Love that. But
So yeah,
also... Go on.
No, I was going to say if Red Bull have broken the budget cap, and I'm going to say if because I'm just going to wait until the official thing comes out. Because obviously I'm an ex-Red Bull employee. I admit that I have an emotional attachment to it, let's say. But if they did break the rules, I'm going to be very disappointed, considering, like I've said on Twitter, that I have been into work one day and then seen like 4 or 5 people cleaning their desks to leave.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems a bit shitty if it turns out to be.
Well, I mean, Toto said in the press, they're like, oh, well, we fired 40 people. I'm like, I'm pretty sure all of the big teams had to reduce personnel.
Yeah.
I don't know figures, but it's like, that's great. Pat yourself on the back. But like at the same time, like let's be completely clear. The Formula One cost cap has meant a lot of people have lost their jobs in the industry. So that sucks to see. But at the same time, it's unfortunate because, let's say, what is it? 5 people, average salary, 50 grand. That's a front wing. Year salary, a front wing. That number might not be 100% correct, but like that's the kind of scope we're talking about. So it's like, right, you can have a front wing, which could bring a lot of performance or maybe absolutely F all, or you can get rid of these 5, standard junior mid-level engineers or manufacturing specialists, machinists, whatever, laminators, whatever. So,
well, I think it's safe to say that we're certainly not talking about the figures that F1 Manager has. Yeah,
if Jean-Pierre Lambiase on like 3.1 million in F1 Manager, I don't think my boy's on 3.1 mil, and if he is, I need to have a word because I've got some salary adjustments that I need to get through post-mortem.
if he is on that, then the man needs to up his game because that Volkswagen Up that he drives around ain't fooling nobody.
No way. Have we talked about that yet?
Talked about what? Sorry,
his Up on the pod.
No, I don't think so.
So
big up the Volkswagen Up.
Yeah, big up Danny Kvyat's old Volkswagen. I will say no more.
Oh, was it his?
Yeah, it's freaking
I didn't know that.
It's Kvyat's old Up, man.
Oh my god! No wonder it's got fucking dents and scratches all over it.
Anyway, I'm gonna say no more on that one. But yeah,
there you go. But that's what they like and subscribe for. Elite level insider content like that.
Just pure shithousery. But like, there's actually some other really huge issues that we need to talk about. That is a real concern in the paddock, and I feel like we've glossed over this.
Far eclipses this, doesn't it?
Lewis still has a nose piercing in. I'm so disappointed in him.
Yep.
When are the FIA going to fuck off with that stuff? It's like, come on. Seriously, get a grip.
Yeah.
I'm over it, man.
Fucking nose stud, man. Who gives a shit? I mean, if he signs a waiver that says, I'm aware of the risks or whatever, then great. But
if they need to chuck him in a freaking MRI machine because something bad happens or whatever else, like I'm not saying that's, if somebody has to chuck him in a MRI machine, just get the freaking bolt cutters out and snip that thing off and chuck him in. He'll be fine, mate. Like,
yeah, he said he had it soldered in. That's pretty fucking hardcore.
Yeah, he's brutal. He's a metalhead, realistically.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely got himself a Prince Albert, and he.
Yeah, he doesn't want to take that one out. He didn't submit the full inspection this weekend, and Ben, good old Uncle Ben from the FIA, was not happy about that. I don't know.
Yeah. I did thoroughly enjoy the fact that the FIA had the sheer nerve to fine them €25,000 for Mercedes.
Really?
Yeah, because Mercedes filled out the the driver declaration form or whatever incorrectly. So Mercedes thought he had it removed.
Oh shit!
But he actually had it in for Singapore because he had he got infected or something.
Yeah, medical exemption, wasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, he had a doctor that said, "Look, mate, you're probably safer leaving it in because in a minute your nose is all fucked up." But nobody told the Mercedes team that, so they gave him a fucking fine of like €25,000.
God.
But
Wow.
if you speed down the pit lane, you only
It's
have to pay 100
euros. Fucking hell, mate.
Don't you dare get that paperwork wrong.
No, that paperwork's very important. Like, that blows my mind. That's just a bunch of, like, seriously, FIA. Like, the fact that we're even talking about that right now, or even talked about it more than on one single instance and didn't tell them to piss off, is just like, blows my mind. Blows my mind. Yeah. Shall we, I mean, that's all the biggest goss from the weekend is that. Should we get into the race weekend? Because the Singapore Grand Prix was a little bit of a shit fight for some people, honestly.
Yeah, it was like the mega roulette wheel on the really 3D.
Yeah, it was a 4D chess game going on this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, let's go back to the beginning real quick about Singapore for some of our people that, you know, either new to Formula One or think that we're actually full of shit. Let me prove to you that we don't know what we're talking about. But the Singapore Grand Prix is extremely physical and demanding. It's super hot, 35 or so degrees. It's 80 to 100% humidity. It's absolutely disgusting. And it's a street track. It's a temporary track they put up for the Grand Prix, and it uses roads. And these kind of circuits are super demanding and super random. And this weekend, we had a lot of the top fighters. Both of the Red Bulls had limited running in P2. We had Leclerc missing out a lot of running in P2. So these guys are massively on the back foot. And it made for a super interesting weekend. So we had a dry Friday, and then Saturday was wet. So let's get into Saturday. FP3. Mercedes, to start this though, Mercedes looked like they were looking very good. Every time we go to a high downforce track, Mercedes looks good. And if you guys don't know, Dan has said that if Mercedes win a Grand Prix, he is shaving the beard of wisdom. He's removing the beard of wisdom from his face. Yep. He will be completely useless without that beard.
Even more useless than I am now.
So, that's a very serious thing to give up nothing, basically, to go from struggling to completely struggling. And as we discussed, his beard was in danger this weekend. Friday's data was absolutely in the bin very quickly because... Great beer, by the way. Beak Brewing, big up.
I'm not editing that out. That can stay in.
Okay, fine. So, P3, wet. Mixed bag. I don't even remember who was quick, who was slow. And at the end of the day, in like mixed wet qualifying and low fuel conditions, it's about being on the track, getting the track evolution, and keeping the car out of the barriers on a street circuit. That is the whole name of the game. Qualifying comes around, and it's qualifying time. Mercedes was looking all quick all weekend, and Mercedes looking very quick in qualifying as well. So the beard was well and truly in danger. But it was one of those weird sessions, man. Like, it was wet the entire time. What do we got? Like, let's go through qualifying quickly. Like, we had a couple shockers, some dramas. We had some people way out of order.
Yeah, we had another Daniel Ricciardo stinker.
Man, those suck to see. Danny getting knocked out in Q1, starting the race
Esteban
at P7.
Ocon had a stinker as well, to be fair. He was in P18.
Yeah, Esteban on the radio saying his brakes weren't working, and it's actually really, I won't go into too much detail on it, but the brakes in the wet can be very tricky because as soon as you stop putting temperature into one of them or lock it up or something else, or you're not braking hard enough in a straight line, one of the discs goes to sleep, so it makes less friction, and the other one gets hotter and it makes more friction, and you have this thing where it's really hard to get your brakes back in window. So if you have poor outlet management in the wet, you can spend a couple laps of pain trying to get the brakes working again. And in qualifying, you only have a handful of laps to get them working in the first place.
You do.
Another one caught by the brake dramas as well. He was up in P11 getting knocked out in Q2.
Yeah.
The governor.
The governor, our core blimey mate, George Russell in P11.
Unlucky.
So like you say, he had brake issues too. Mercedes elected to change basically his entire PU. I don't know how I feel about that. P11 is not the end of the world. I mean,
maybe
still within points.
So the fact that, we'll just fast forward a little bit. The fact that they put in a new power unit for Russell means they're like, well, we're outside of the points. It's difficult to overtake in Singapore. Maybe on a good day we'll get a handful of points. in the race. Why don't we chuck a new engine in it, and then we'll get you to do about 60 pit stops during the Grand Prix to make sure the engine's broken in before we get to Japan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. George Russell, unfortunately, there was an issue with the simulator back at Mercedes, and they actually loaded up Destruction Derby 2. And man was just out there. It was terrorism on track today for George.
He also tried Ice Driving Simulator 2005 as well at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point we were thinking he was going to Nelson Piquet Jr. it from 2008, cause the safety car early. We'll get back to the race in a second, though. But
yeah,
let's go from the top. Charles Leclerc takes pole in Singapore. Sergio Perez, a couple of hundredths right off his booty cheeks, and Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton in P3, the mighty Mercedes on these high downforce tracks. We were kind of expecting that from Friday. Russell got caught out.
He's qualified this year.
Is it? All right.
Yep.
Nice. And then Sainz P5, a little bit off this weekend. Kind of classic Sainz, wasn't it? Really. Alonso shithousing his way all the way up into P4. Sorry,
Yeah.
5. Sorry, 5.
P5, yep. Come on, Alonso.
Come on, Alonso. Gasman, and we've got a bit of a stinker.
Oh, Max. Well, it's not necessarily Max's fault, really, is it? It was your fault, really, in a way.
Nothing to do
Race
with me.
engineering, fucking up your fuel
Nothing
in
to
the
do with me.
car. So, come on, give us your reasonable explanation of how this happened.
Well, here's the thing. So let's go through qualifying for Max and try to put some sense to it. So it's a Q3. It's just gone from intermediate conditions, and the race engineers know that the track is going to improve and it will be dry tires. So instead of going out on the inters, they decide to fit a soft tire to start the session. Everybody in Q3 pretty much, I think, starts out on a soft and says, right, we'll go a little bit too slow, but when the track gets ready, we'll be there. So when you're fueling a car for they call it, in terms of fueling strategy, you'd be like, all right, well, fuel the car for one push lap, which means you need to do an out lap, a push lap, and an in lap, which is a very common Q3 final run scenario. In these changeable conditions, they fuel the car for the session. So fueling the car for the session is a pretty tricky thing you have to do. You, have to guess how many laps you're going to do in session, which means you need to have a good guess of what lap times you're going to be doing. When you're going from intermediate to dry, pretty tricky. And then 2, also coupled to the exact same thing, you need to guess how much fuel you're going to consume per lap. And this is where they had the problem. So Max had a lap which was good enough at the time for P8 on lap, I think it's 19. His penultimate lap, he puts one in, and he's half a second up on that. He's looking pretty handsome, which would have placed him at the end of the day 5th or 6th, depending on how he finished that lap out. But they abort that lap. They say, right, they see the track evolve and like, right, if we get one more lap in, we'll make it make sense. We can get pole easily. So he aborts that lap around turn 18, and then he recharges the battery, cools the tires for a second, and then goes again. At the end of that lap, he's miles ahead. So if he had actually finished that lap, he would have qualified a half a second ahead of Leclerc. Unfortunately, they're rounding the final corner, and GP, his race engineer, very frantically and very urgently is on the radio, box now.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic. So, it was...
GP's super calm all the time.
Yeah.
When GP's on the radio, he's super calm and collected. He knows what's going on. But this is, using the urgency in his voice to tell Max, this is not a joke. You do not stay out. If you stay out, we're going to get disqualified. So they're basically a choice was take P8 or start from the back.
Yeah, and then, Max did his sort of best sort of swearing over the radio, like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? Yada, yada, yada.
That's pretty good. Big up the new Go XLR red microphone cable.
Did you
If
like
you're not,
that?
yeah, it was pretty decent. But like they can't. So a lot of people ask me, why didn't he just finish the lap and then stop on track? Because you actually have to prove to the FIA that you had enough fuel in the car to finish the in lap. You can't just not finish the in lap. So that's that. It sounds to me like a little bit of a operational issue. And I'm not sure. It sounded like Max was. I wasn't sure if Max was told to abort the previous lap, or to go again, or if that was his decision. But yeah, so you need a fuel sample. You need to provide a 1 liter fuel sample to the FIA.
Yep, and if you don't, you fall foul of it, like we've seen with.
Was it Seb?
Yeah, Seb in Hungary last year, wasn't it? Post race, he didn't even get back to the. He basically stopped on the in lap post race.
Yeah.
On the cool down lap. So yeah.
Yeah, so it was realistically, if they'd finished that previous lap, they would have qualified P5 or P6. But if he'd finished that last lap, which was 1 lap later than everybody else, or a similar lap progression as the other people, he was half a second up. Realistically, everybody was quite a bit faster than Leclerc in Sector 1. Leclerc left a bit on the table, but Leclerc's Sector 3 was spectacular. Leclerc's Sector 3 was a rocket ship. So, unfortunate.
Nice, to see Charles sort of coming back a little bit. But unfortunately, like we said earlier, due to his pole to win conversion rate, I don't think Red Bull are necessarily that fucking bothered that he was on pole.
Oh my God.
Oh dear, that poor guy. When is he going to catch a break? I don't know.
No, dude. He must be dead inside right now, bro.
Yeah. But one final question I'll ask you is like, I've seen a lot of people saying, how comes they didn't know earlier that Max wouldn't be able to do that lap?
The only thing I can guess is there was an operational issue in terms of the fueling. So maybe a miscommunication. That's all I can think of because, every lap that you're completing, you've got probably what I used to have. I didn't do qualifying fuel at Force India, I didn't do qualifying fuel at Red Bull. I only did race, but at Force India, I had a lap. So every time the car is crossing the line, I'm typing in the spreadsheet what the actual fuel consumption was on that lap and comparing it to my program. Potentially, probably what's happening is GP's asking the fuel man or whoever's doing the fuel. He's like, "Hey, do we have enough for another lap?" And they say, "I think so," and they potentially misunderstood and were misinformed. Honestly, I really can't.
Around the one,
or the fuel person, the fuel consumption per lap increased substantially higher than they expected for what they fueled the session for. And yes, they had enough laps, but when inspecting the fuel consumption per lap, they checked and like, holy crap, we don't have enough fuel because the fuel consumption was 5% higher than I expected, and we definitely will not have a sample. So
that would be down to track evolution, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we
did see that ramp up incredibly towards the end, didn't we?
Yeah. So if you look at the split, right? So the top 3 were separated by 0.05 of a second, so 0.05 seconds for the top 3. 1 lap of fuel is 0.06. 2 laps of fuel is 0.1 of a second. So you are not anywhere close to being like, oh, why don't we just add 2 extra laps of fuel to be safe? No. So, Max, people were saying, oh, Max was way underweight. That's why he was so fast. Like, let's say he was a lap out. He was half a second up. And if he was a lap out on fuel, that's 0.06 of a second. That's minuscule. But at the same time, 0.06 of a lap would take you from P1 to P3 in that grid that we had. So race fuel is super important, but also don't fuck with it because it will fuck you.
Yeah, so we're going to go with a conspiracy that Helmut Marko drained the tank, yeah?
Yep, definitely.
Yep, okay.
Sure, that's valid. 100% valid.
Helmut Marko, you have got SO on your hands.
What does that smell?
ExxonMobil for our European friends and American friends.
What event was it branded as this? Because they changed the branding based on the market they're in.
Yeah, I don't know what it was for this one.
Okay, me neither. Me neither. Should we get to the race?
Sure, why not? I don't think there's much else to talk about.
That was qualifying. It was
qualifying.
I like those, from going back to that. These mixed sessions like this are so stressful and so exciting because there's so many variables. Dry qualifying sessions are surgical. You know what you need to do. Maybe you change plan a little bit later. Your driver's like, I'm not happy. Can we change the front wing? Performance engineer, tell me what to do here. Blah blah. I'll try some new switches. Wet qualifying. It's chaos. So the adrenaline, the rush is real during these mixed weather sessions.
Maybe it was a warning for what was to come in the race.
Oh my God. Is that foreshadowing? Dun, dun,
Possibly.
Dun. Wait, that's the wrong sound. Anyway.
Yeah. So the race turned into basically a complete fucking shit show. Let's be real. I mean, I don't know how you want us to fucking go through this, but we're going to try.
We're going to try.
We're going to start, obviously, from the start. So Russell in the pit lane because of his new engine. Checo went back to an older engine because I believe overnight they were unhappy with some of the telemetry they saw. So Checo had an old engine put back in.
To be fair, Checo was also talking about drivability during the race as well. So some of the comms are usually sometimes they have issues with drivability on these high humidity circuits. The combustion's not doing what they want it to, but no penalty for Checo.
Yep. What else do we have? Sorry, I've lost my place now. Oh yeah, obviously, fucking hell. Like, start was delayed because the FIA are yet again scared of a bit of rain.
Yeah. But I mean, so they knocked it back by an hour, but the safety car is going around the circuit and there are 2-inch puddles. The Pirelli full extreme wet tires are meant to deal with some water, but Formula One cars are not meant to deal with rivers. Like, you need some super swamper monster truck tires on there to safely navigate and not aquaplane off the circuit. But,
yeah, and the Pirelli wets are fucking shit anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's not beat around the bush.
Let's not beat around the bush.
No, we're not going to get sponsored by Pirelli anytime soon, so I don't care. Their wets are fucking shit. Yes, so everyone was on inters to start. Lewis was not exactly thrilled about that. I think we had some comms from him saying, wrong tyres, no grip. Which is probably more of an issue as well for them because they do struggle to warm up their tyres.
And we had quite that wasn't the only instance of that. Like, that's a whole story arc for shattering to Mercedes cold tires galore. We've been hearing about it all season, but it manifests itself in their entire race. But I mean, I don't know. I can't see myself like looking back at how that unfolded, even though the inters were not particularly ideal. I don't see
what else would you be on?
I don't see the full wets making any sense because you would have gone through them, you would have chewed them up. In hindsight, the wets were a terrible idea to start the race on because midway through that very, very long stint on inters, people are like doing that thing where they hunt for puddles. I mean, most people did. Well, if you didn't retire, you did about 35 laps on a set of inters. So.
Yeah, the inters were, shit, but it was a case of everyone has to be on the same shit tyre because, like you say, if you start on a wet, you're just going to box after lap 10, aren't you, really? Just swap them out. And it's a street circuit as well, so there's different surfaces and puddles and...
Yeah, that's a super interesting point because a lot of the time, if we look back to qualifying... The track was ready for dry tires, except for 17, 18, 19, 20. Those were not ready. There were puddles on the line. And I think one of the things that we saw during the race was the track was ready for dries at one point, but you can't overtake because if you go offline, it's wet. And we'll get back to one of the biggest instances of that in just a second. But
yeah. So start of the race, Max has a bit of a shocker. Anti-stall kicks in and he drops back to P12 from P8. A lot of I went back and looked at the onboards, and a lot of the drivers was starting in second gear.
Yep, that is very common because in first gear the torque is way over target. So the way the gearbox works, you drop the torque as you go up the gears, and if you try to launch the car in first gear, like if the clutch is like half engaged or whatever, it makes no sense. You're producing way too much torque. So second gear starts. Leclerc also had a shit start. He had an initial good pull away. Then it looks like he got a load of wheel spin, so Perez takes the race lead off the start. So
yeah, Checo just breezed past it. It made it look so easy. And yeah, I watched Leclerc's on board at the start, and it looked like you say it was just wheel spin, to be honest. But yeah, as soon as Checo was in front of turn one, that was it. He was running no streets today, and Checo does that when he really wakes up when it comes to street circuits. Checo.
We keep seeing that. So his great results so far this season, Jeddah, Monaco, obviously. Yeah. How did he go in Baku? Was he all right there? Baku wasn't great, I don't think.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Oh, he did this. Somebody says they did the same at Baku. So yeah, so Checo really likes those low speed circuits, and we go back to that conversation about Max not liking the amount of Pirelli front end. But it looks like the Red Bull car has sorted that because since we've come back from the break, Max has been putting like a big chunk into Perez in qualifying over these, these low downforce circuits, and we come back to the street circuit, and excuse me, well and truly by qualifying, Checo was in the zone. Like, he's up there in the mix with the weapons at the front, the sharp end of the grid. He wasn't off the pace. So, and in the race, I think we saw Checo dominate this race. Like, he looked like he was maybe sweating a little bit at one point, but classic Ferrari. As soon as they start pushing again, they overheat their tires and fall away.
Yep. Yeah. Who else had a good start? Vettel seemed to basically have his Weetabix this morning.
Did he now?
Yeah. I can't remember what position he got up to, but he was like 7th or something at one point. He was in front of Max at one point. He just went, phew. Norris had a pretty good start.
Norris held his own. Norris holding 5th.
Yep. Latifi had a shocker. As always.
Oh my God.
Fucking, I'm trying so hard
to not just slander him.
Yeah, but fucking hell, Latifi, Jesus Christ! Like, I've never seen someone get black flagged by their own team before.
They're like, mate, just park it. So Latifi has been handed a 5-place grid penalty for Suzuka.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Because basically he had another standard bozo moment and just decided to plow into the side of Guan Yu Zhou.
Unbelievable. Like, he put his hand up in the press afterwards and he said, I didn't see him. But it's like, mate, you're on a street circuit. Like, there's cars around you. Are you not looking? The guy is a walking liability. He's probably a super nice guy, but he's absolutely trash in a Formula One car. The grid will not
any
miss him
money
next
that
year.
he brought to that team has been spent like twice over in repair bills, fines. So
speaking of the race start, though, we missed out on one big thing. I want anybody listening to this at home, watching the video, or hang out live on the stream over at twitch.tv/Brrrake, plug. I want you to think of a better duo than Kevin Suck My Balls Magnussen and a broken front wing at the start of the race. Can anybody think of a better duo than that? I'll let you try. Dan, do you have a better duo?
no, I don't. It seems to be a recurring thing for old Kevin this season.
Kevin! Anytime I hear someone type Kevin, all I can think of is the Home Alone scene where his mom's like, Kevin! And then passes out because they realize they forgot him at home. So people in the stream are saying Latifi and a wall. That's a pretty good duo. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one. But yeah, I saw the onboard of Kevin, and he just slid straight into the back of Vettel. I was just like, oh, okay, that's the way it's going to be then, is it?
Cheers, mate. Yeah.
He was having a little bit of a spicy fight with Max as well at one point.
Yeah, I think Max made not too difficult work of him, but the intermediate stint was kind of this like boring thing we had for the entire race, and like we're sitting there watching. It's like, trying to take bets on what lap somebody's going to fit a dry weather tire, and the governor does that first.
Who comes through for that?
Governor, blimey.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, we'll get back to him, but
Oh, blimey, Governor, can we put some softs on?
I love that. But so in the race, Max kind of makes his way up to P7, and he gets stuck behind Fernando, defending like an absolute champion. And honestly, Nando, man, great drive this weekend.
350th Grand Prix.
W.
And he's still out there shithousing on track like the best of them.
Yeah, dude. He's
fair play.
Fair play. But unfortunately, he doesn't stay in P7 for very long. Max is struggling to get past him, and then he does get past him.
Yeah, and basically Alpine rewarded Alonso with his 350th Grand Prix by detonating his engine. So
yeah, here's a hand grenade. Have fun, mate.
Yeah. Did you hear it on the onboard?
I missed it.
Oh, it was like basically sticking spanners in a blender. It was proper fucked.
Oh no. I heard a little bit of foreshadowing there. I heard Ocon's later in the race. That was like, yeah, that was spanners in a blender. You heard something in the drivetrain go, and then fucking valves and pistons. When you've got bits coming out of the exhaust, that's a good one.
Yeah, so looking forward to them two starting at the back of the grid in Japan.
Yeah, new engines because Renault can't make a good engine. You know what? I'm pretty sure that Mechachrome still manufacture the Renault blocks and parts of the engine, which has a great tie to Singapore. Flava Flav Briatore's, I believe he still owns Mechachrome.
Is this some sort of wild conspiracy we're going to
No, I'm pretty sure Flavio owns Mechachrome, who make those engines. Anyway, they're not very good.
Yeah, big up everyone in Viri. I'm sure all of you listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
But maybe if you stopped fucking listening and working on the engines, they might not explode.
Just don't touch them, man. Stop looking at them. Keep the camembert away from them. No red wine at lunch. Just go easy, mate.
Mm-hmm. Put the fucking baguettes down. Pick up the valve clearance tool and sort it out.
Oh my God! What happens on lap 20? Let's get back to the governor. I miss the governor right now.
Is it lap 20 when he wants to put his medium tyres on?
Put as Paul de Rest would call it, a medium.
Lost here.
Yeah, lap 20, Russell tries to throw some mediums, but realistically, at this point, Russell is in the mud. Where is Russell at this point? Russell's
was this before or after where he comes over the radio and goes,
"Oh, blimey, Mick Schumacher's driving like it's the race of his life."
That was at the end of the race. That was at the end. We'll get back to
because he hasn't got a seat next year, George. Wake up.
Yeah, he's driving for his freaking life, man. Calm down. But so George is basically, so we've had two retirements at this point. George is down in P16, coming up from the back, and he's not having a good race. Lewis is currently in fourth, stuck behind the Sainz driving a dump truck of a Ferrari or something. This thing is not quick. Leclerc and Perez are gapping Sainz. Sainz maybe had some damage, but Sainz was not in this race whatsoever, other than for shithousing a podium at the end. But not quick this weekend.
Yeah, those two were like a whole pit stop in front of Sainz at one point, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Not quite. Oh, yes, they were. They're 20 seconds. Pit stop's 30, so
near enough.
Getting pretty close.
Big old gap.
Yeah, George decides to chuck on a set of, as Paul de Rest would say, midgems. Midgems, yeah. Classic midgem. And
holy fuck, what a decision that was. Jesus Christ.
I'm looking at the race trace, and he pisses away like 40 seconds of race time somebody cued the Tokyo Drift 3 music while he was out there. He's leaving the pit lane through the wet, and he's like 90 degrees to the direction he's supposed to be going, Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, he nearly stacks it. He nearly does a Canada and fucking nearly stacks it before turn one.
Oh my God.
That to me seems like it was a case of, George, not a lot's happening. We'd like to see what the dry tyres are like for Lewis. Do you mind taking one for the team?
Absolutely. And he's like, blimey, yeah, I guess so, mate. But like realistically, they weren't going to do, like, looking at Russell's pace, he was stuck behind, was it Bottas for an age? He wasn't going anywhere. Lewis is up in fourth. We're waiting for the Inter to dry crossover. If we throw on mediums now, in these conditions, they will go to the end of the race. And because we have you out there, we will have an early indication on when the crossover is actually there. And we start to see the crossover about 10 laps later. On lap 30, he starts matching lap times for the front, and then lap 34, so he's going faster than the front of the pack. So we know at that point the boys are back in town and the mediums are in. And then it gets messy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, then his fucking strategy just goes fucking haywire because he pits, I guess, under one of the VSCs or safety cars for a medium for 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah.
Then pits again for a soft, and then yet again for another soft. I don't fucking know, man. Mercedes were on a mad one with Russell.
So Russell goes lap 22 or so for mediums, runs mediums until a safety car, throws mediums on again for a minute, fucks something up, throws on a set of softs, and throws on a set of softs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. George Russell on a 4-stop, finishing this race 2 laps behind. But that's the end of Russell's race. We'll come back to him and his interactions with some other drivers, but before
yes, interactions is putting it kindly.
Yeah, before that though, we've seen a couple of big hitters this weekend making some legitimate fuck ups, man. Lewis usually keeping his nose clean, collected, calm. He's behind Sainz, trying to put the pressure on him around lap 34. So Lewis decides to see how soft the Tech Pro barriers are, straight into that. And he's got to come in for a little front wing change. He's got the front wing hanging off this car. He does a lap or two on that. He bleeds away 20 seconds of race time, including getting the car out of the Bazzers. And at this point, we've got Perez leading Leclerc, Sainz, Norris up into was it fourth? And Verstappen ends up behind Norris.
Yeah.
It struggles to get past him. Actually, Norris fighting like an absolute lion this weekend. And looking at
he's carrying McLaren at the moment. He also had pretty much a completely fucking different car from Daniel this weekend.
Lando was on the new weapon, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got whole new side pods and intakes and things like that. And poor old Danny Rick doesn't get to play with those toys.
No, mate.
But he still managed to shit house himself up to, what was it, P5?
Yeah. But I'm
pitting under the safety car.
Yeah, so both so was it Lando and Daniel both got in? So realistically what happened is AlphaTauri's sister team McLaren called them and said, "We want you to crash Tsunoda." Is what they did, and so that we can get a free pit stop.
Yep.
Oh, that's wait, what's that? The Tsunoda safety car costs Max a stop relative to McLaren? Oh, it's not. That's not their sister. Oh, okay, sorry. I just didn't understand what was going on. But in terms of like that kind of wheel knowledge, I'm perfectly viable asset for F1 Twitter.
Yeah. McLaren need to sell AlphaTauri.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the shithousery. But Lewis bins it. I think who causes the safety car? Yuki bins it.
Oh, again, fuck knows. This race was so fucking chaotic.
There were so many safety cars.
Safety car. There you go.
Yeah,
we'll
whatever.
Just go with that.
Yeah, a safety car. If one of the jokers caused it, but
yeah, I mean, we're like 40 minutes into this podcast. If anyone's listening to get some technical, in-depth knowledge about this race, then you're shit out of luck. Thanks for hanging around for 40 minutes.
But that's what it felt like watching it. It's just like dull, some chaos, some shithousery, and then yeah,
Max decided to fly off the track at one point down an escape road.
That's a good one.
Tires.
That's a good one. So safety car restart after whoever calls that freaking safety car. Max is back on Lando's cheeks again, and Lewis has had a howler. Lewis has made a mistake. We don't see that. Lewis doesn't make many mistakes this season so far. How many mistakes has Max made? Like howlers.
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head.
Budapest turn 13, pirouette from the race lead to retain the race lead, or like fall behind Leclerc then re-overtake him.
Yeah, it didn't really cost him anything though, did it?
No.
Did he not have a spin in Silverstone as well? Or was that Charles?
I'm lost.
Barcelona gravel trap.
Maybe but like for the most part, he's been pretty calculated, not making that many errors. Lewis usually surgical. Lewis straight into the barriers trying to overtake Sainz. Max trying to overtake Norris after the safety car restart. Goes a little bit offline on dry tires. So at this point, from that safety car, most people have chucked on mediums. Ricciardo and Bottas at this point have put on soft tires, but they're kind of back in the sticks. Ricciardo's actually shithoused his way up to fifth at that point. So
yeah,
Max tries to he was at sixth, and then Max sending up the inside of Lando let Daniel take P5 away. Max drops all the way back to what, like 13, 12? Yeah, 13th. And then just kind of drives through the field and ends up finishing, where's that chart at? Eighth? Yeah. So I feel like, tell me what you think, because I feel like right now Max he knew that the 9 in a row Seb title was gone. And it was like, doesn't really have much to lose at this point. He's definitely going to win the championship. So
yeah, I don't know. It was a very uncharacteristic weekend for Max. All right, granted, I suppose he gets a pass for qualifying. It wasn't really his issue. Oh, Jesus, I'm just smashing up my desk. But yeah, in the race, it was just a bit fucking bozo, really, wasn't it? I mean, everyone was a bit fucking bozo today.
Yeah. I think
But then I
that,
suppose we've not been back at this track since 2019.
Yeah.
So I guess everyone's a bit rusty.
yeah, and it goes to show you, a street circuit like this is extremely demanding, and its overtaking is difficult. So if you want to overtake, you're gonna have to take some risks to overtake here, and the guys were definitely putting their necks out, and Lewis trying to get past Sainz, that could have been a Lewis podium, and
I think the only 3 people off the top of my head I can think of that had a clean race, as it were. Checo, he was just up front the whole time.
Well,
he didn't give a shit.
Was it clean?
I don't know. To be fair,
he had
his mate.
He had 3 instances of safety car infringements, I believe, 2 or 3.
Well, okay.
We'll get back to that.
In terms of kissing cars and walls.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Charles, I think he was pretty.
Yeah, he had
all right.
He had a crap start, but it was just those 2 dancing off in the distance.
And then Norris, I think Norris was kind of a bit anonymous, but
Sainz, did he have any?
Sainz was nowhere this weekend though in terms of pace. I don't understand what happened there.
No.
Wrong setup, wrong wing. I don't know.
He did pick it up at the end, but a little bit too little, too late. It was interesting. Yeah, Norris was the invisible man there, really, except for when he was holding Max off. Sainz had a wobble into Lewis on lap 1, but
yeah,
that's a race start, and that wasn't
in the
great.
Wet on a street circuit. I think we're lucky that lap 1 was relatively clean. Really,
yeah.
All we had was Albon, wasn't it, that spun off and tapped a wall.
Yeah.
On the rear. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of this race. I'm not sure if I think it's just fucking boring or if it was any good.
I feel like, because I did the watch along on stream, right? And I was like, the whole time, it was just like you're sitting here rubbing your hands together, waiting like who's going to put on dry tires. And you're looking at the lap times and they're doing like 158s and stuff. And you're like, that's not a dry lap time. And there's, if you try to overtake, you can't overtake in these conditions because offline it's so damn wet. So that was, I enjoyed it. Like the chaos, like you see people make mistakes. I don't want to see people artificially making mistakes, but this was a very challenging race for a lot of people.
Yeah. Someone asked a good question is, why do you think Russell went onto mediums instead of softs?
I think they just, at the point when they initially put on mediums on lap 23 or whatever, 21, 23, they're like, well, if we put these on, they're going to have to go to the end. If we put on the softs and we go straight into the crossover, there's a very good chance that these tires will not do upwards of 40 laps. And I think that was kind of the risk. We saw that the softs did manage 20 plus laps, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, the softs did just over 20 laps. But a lot of people opting for a medium to do 20 laps. So Ricciardo and Bottas, the only 2 that made softs do 20 plus laps.
Yeah, and someone else raises a good point that this race wasn't exactly a good advertisement for removing DRS. Which they flirted with the idea in the past.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, the DRS is good for one thing. It gives you a top speed advantage. If you do not have a pace advantage, DRS isn't doing anything for you. So take those races where people are like, oh, the DRS train was so fucking annoying. Well, you take that race and take all those cars and take off the DRS. What do you call that train of cars not overtaking each other because they don't have sufficient pace to overtake each other? It's just a train of cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit artificial, but it just gives a little bit of, if you've got more pace than a car, you're not always necessarily guaranteed an overtake. So I have I have no problems with the way DRS is implemented now. It doesn't need to change, in my opinion.
No. What else have we got? Anything else we need to talk about in the race?
Well, we had a little bit of shithousing, man. George Russell was freaking on one this weekend.
His Destruction Derby 2 impersonation.
I mean, he does this thing. He did it in Ricard as well. He did it in France, where he has a pretty interesting overtaking example. And he's like, "What were you doing, man? Did you see his overtake on Mick?"
Yeah.
Mick is braking in a straight line, and Russell's on the inside of the track defending and brakes at an angle out towards the corner and smashes into him. And he's like, "What was he doing there?"
I left him loads of room. Core blimey.
Man. He's got another. What was his other one? Oh, and he's complaining that Magnussen's like, he's like, mate, Magnussen's defending like his life depends on it. It's like, yeah, or sir, Mick. Yeah, Mick doesn't have a freaking seat next year. He's not letting you pass for free. You're in a Mercedes. He's getting those elbows out and making this car 3 miles wide, dude. Come on, Russell. Come on.
Yeah, it was a weird race from Russell.
Yeah, it was, because like Russell's one of those dudes. Like I think he's a real gamer. Like he's one of those dudes that aced F3, aced F2. He's coming to the mix. He did his time at Williams. He's in the Mercedes. He's been showing that he can do a good job when Lewis is struggling with the car or doing test programs or whatever the fuck they're doing. He's taking a safe route and he's getting results. He is Mr. Consistent. But sometimes, man, some of the stuff that he says when the red mist hits, you know, it's like
I was getting PTSD when I saw him and Bottas beefing.
Oh,
I thought, oh Jesus, here we go, round 2. But yeah, man, fucking weird.
Yeah,
weird race all round.
No, it definitely is. But honestly, it was a fun race. But it was one of those things where not a whole lot happened until it happened, and it was just like people recovering from fuck ups.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody in the live stream is saying that Russell doubled down post race. He needs to take a chill pill and go watch the replay from off car, because that was even worse than Felipe Massa on Perez in Canada back in the day. that was some actual Felipe Massa. But to be fair, Perez got the penalty for that.
Yep. Yeah, Perez has had his bozo moments, but not today. Today he was cool, calm, and collected, and with his old crappy engine, secured the dub.
Barry Cat has come to say hi. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this on or hearing this on audio, you're not going to see. We've got a fluffy Barry Cat who's come to talk to us about Sergio Perez's 5-second time penalty that was awarded in the race. But it wasn't just that; he got a reprimand and some points because what was he doing?
He was letting the safety car go more than 10 car lengths in front of him,
which is bad. So that is a rule that you cannot let it. No bueno. So you can't let the safety car, you need to basically keep within 10 car lengths. And you saw at one point, I was thinking this is what the penalty was for. It was like, Barry, meow if you think the penalty was legit. Okay, it's not legit.
That cat is on Marco's payroll, mate.
Yeah. His middle name's Helmet. Not really, I haven't given my cat a middle name. But, yeah, but at one point you saw him on the main straight pulling up next to Bert and being like, mate, can you speed up through the corners because I can't generate any temperature in these medium tires.
Yeah.
And so he in the stewards, so they didn't decide it during the race, which every time they say we'll discuss this after the race and it determines, especially the podium, pisses me off.
Yeah.
I mean, God, come on.
It's not hard, is it? Just make a fucking decision, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but what they did is they wanted to hear the driver's statement on it. And Checo was insistent that he was struggling to keep up with the safety car through the corners. It was crossover, enter to dry tire conditions. He was on mediums, which are a little bit difficult to warm up. Mercedes had warm-up issues, like pretty seriously. So he was basically had 2 infringements. The first one was a reprimand.
Well, there was 3 instances of it, let's say. The first one was a reprimand. The second one was an in-race warning from the race director. And the third time was the 5-second penalty. So what I would like to highlight is quite possibly one of the best paragraphs in this FIA document. So they say basically the reason is that Perez said the conditions were very wet and it was difficult to closely follow the safety car with little heat in his tyres and brakes. Yeah, that all seems reasonable. Although the track was wet in parts, we do not accept that the conditions were such as to make it impossible or dangerous for Perez to have maintained the required less than 10 car length gap. So basically they're saying like we don't accept your reason for that. However, literally in the next paragraph, they say, nevertheless, we took into account the wet conditions and difficulties highlighted by Perez as mitigatory circumstances for this incident and accordingly determined that a reprimand ought to be imposed.
Wow. So they say, we think you're absolutely full of shit, mate, because us are expert racing car drivers. However, we believe you for the sake of applying this penalty. So here's 5 seconds. And people are saying he needs 10 seconds. And if he got 10 seconds, he would have finished, is it third or further back?
Yeah. If it was 7-second gap, I believe, to Charlie Boy. So
yeah, it was 15 to Science. So, but that was a pretty good one, man. From from lap 50 onwards, Perez absolutely motored away from Leclerc. At one point, I was thinking Leclerc might have a sniff. If Perez sets one wheel wrong, Leclerc is going to get in those booty meets. But he pulls a monster gap.
Yeah, Charles was doing well to sort of keep up with him. But then I think 2 or 3 laps from the end, he has a little moment coming out of... I've forgotten what fucking turn it is now. This is how professional I am. But
it was one of the turns after turn 10. So it's between 20
he has a little
and 10.
Squiggly moment, and then from then on, the gap just sort of opens. And
classic. Another classic Ferrari losing the rear tires. They've been terrible on the rear tire management since we came back from the break, and this was no other, no different. But But interestingly enough, Sainz having no issues is actually. He's outpacing Perez at the end of the race, surprisingly. Just looking at that now, which is... So Sainz didn't have to put the pressure on anybody, and he could definitely manage his tires, and he did a good job. But the Ferrari... So we've got 2 different things. We've got Ferrari struggling with rear temperatures, overheating them often and losing pace as a result. And then Mercedes seemingly struggle to generate any temperature. And that's weird because... It's a high downforce track. They're going similar lap times at low fuel.
Yeah.
Why are they struggling with... if we have any freaking experts on the podcast about rubber, you should tell us, because Mercedes could use your help because they're struggling to switch on tires. But it seems like a long-standing Mercedes compromise. And if you have the same amount of downforce, I'm not really sure. Like, how you generate tire temperature by... useful tire temperature by lateral acceleration and being able to sustain like high lateral G's and putting load and stressing the tire, not sliding it, but stressing the tire. But yeah,
big words.
Yeah, sorry. I've had most of a double IPA, which is about 8%, and it's...
Oh, okay, that explains everything then. So yeah, there you go. In the end, Max finished 7th. Sorry for the people shouting at their radio from 10 minutes ago. Seb finishes 8th, Hamilton 9th. Any other thing? Yeah, Lando and Daniel shithouse themselves into P4 and P5.
I would have loved
Stroll shithouse to P6.
Let's fucking go, mate. I would have honestly loved to see Lando on the podium. It's his time is coming, man. His time is coming.
Well, he's the only I was going to say, he's the only non-Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull driver to be on the podium this year, isn't he?
Yeah, he needs another one, though.
Is it Imola?
That's way too long ago for me, mate.
Yeah, that was too many IPAs ago for you.
Man. Here's a good one.
Give it to me.
So here's a really interesting thing, which the TV broadcast explained pretty well, and my stream explained to me. So at the end of the race... After Russell's already done about a 9-stop race, he stops around lap 54 or so for a new set of soft tires in order to take the fastest lap of the race. However, something very special about this, when you're all the way down, I mean, let's be clear. At this point, there's only 14 cars that finish this race.
Mm-hmm.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That was a race of attrition, right?
But
you cannot get... Here's a little trivia. You can't actually get a point for fastest lap if you're outside of the top 10.
Correct.
But what can you do?
Steal it from someone else.
So in total on brand with Russell shithousing this entire weekend, he has taken the fastest lap off of Sergio Perez to put that in his piggy bank for the weekend.
Like, why? But Mercedes, I'm really sorry, but you're not beefing with Red Bull this year. Like,
it's pettiness, man. It's so petty. Toto was just like, do it, take it.
George, I want you to take the fastest lap point.
Do it now, Valtteri. This is James. Wait, he's like, my name's George. My name's George. Damn it.
I wanted to have flashbacks.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they did that because they thought Ferrari were going to get the fastest lap, and those two are Mercedes and Ferrari are battling tooth and nail for P2 in the constructors. Although saying that, the gap has opened quite a lot now. It's 66 points. It was a lot lower than that, but after
Mercedes took home 2 points this weekend.
yeah, that's really hurt.
Oh, I mean, Ferrari have thrown away a lot of points, but this is the first time we've seen Mercedes actually not nearly maximize a weekend.
Yeah, and perhaps maybe with this weekend they may have said goodbye to P2.
Yep, it's possible.
Let's never say never with Ferrari. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Tifosi that are listening, you do have my condolences because I can only imagine the amount of self-restraint and mental fortitude you have to support that team.
Much respect to you guys. Not all heroes wear capes in this instance. You guys, Tifosi.
Yep.
Take care of yourselves, all right?
You're the real ones.
But yeah. Is that the race?
Yeah, that's pretty much the race.
But that's not the end of the pod. That's not the end of the pod. Don't just anybody listening. That's not the end of the pod. But that is the end of the race. And I feel like,
What have we got left?
Well, I think we've got.
Fraud Watch.
Everybody in chat's like, it's Fraud Watch next. Hell yeah, it's Fraud Watch. So Fraud Watch is a segment of the podcast where this has been inherited from Dan's stream. And we now have brought Fraud Watch as a part of the Engine Braking podcast. So.
Yep. Welcome to Fraud Watch.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. So Fraud Watch is where we nominate somebody or someone or something from the weekend, and we put it on the burner. We put them on roast because why not?
Yeah, because we can do that from the comfort of our spare rooms.
A Secret Labs chair. Very plushy. This
Funded
nice
by
pillow.
Dr. Helmut Marko because we're industry plants.
Ooh. So if anybody's listening or watching on the stream, I want to see your nominations for Fraud Watch, but we're going to rock on with this segment. So, Dan, who you got on Fraud Watch this weekend, brother?
I'm just fucking slapping it straight to Latifi. I'm not even fucking bothering entertaining any others. It's the easiest one to go for, but it's the most fucking obvious. You know, it's just I've never seen a guy get black flagged from his own team to basically get a rear puncher, come into the pits, and they just say, look, mate, it's safer if you just fucking stay here. Like, for everyone's safety, we're just going to fucking keep you here.
Like Mercedes have called to Toto called. He doesn't want you to bin it on the last lap because it didn't work out last time. So why don't you just park it, brother?
Yeah.
Wow. That's strong. I mean, and to be fair, Joe has been doing, I think, looking at his junior career, I was looking back at that when I was doing my De Vries video, and I was like, I wasn't too thrilled about Joe's CV in terms of his results. But you've got to give it to the man. He's done a very reasonable job. And his Singapore special helmet, the bubble tea helmet, was magnificent. It wasn't quite Seb's rainbow on black with the peace logo on it. That was actually magnificent. But Joe's been solid, and he's locked in for next year, right?
Yeah. That was announced earlier in the week. He's got himself, I'm not sure if it was just a single year deal or multi-year, I'm not sure, but I think he's done enough to warrant that. Yeah,
I think so. And unfortunately, so there's a close up of his family in the Alfa Romeo garage as he came out of the car, which just sucks. His family comes to see him, and unfortunately,
he gets nickied.
Yeah, unlucky, mate. But good. We like seeing Joe. I'm a big fan, honestly. I've got a Fraud Watch nomination.
Speaking of, just while we're talking about Gwen Yu Zhou, have you seen the amount of drip he's got?
Yeah.
Every time he comes into the paddock, he's like dressed in Armani or whatever, and it's just like, all right, he's after Lewis's crown as most fashionable.
He's definitely been to Bicester Village a couple times, mate.
Yeah,
definitely been to Bicester Village a couple times. And if you don't know what Bicester Village is, look it up. But
big up Bicester Village.
Hey, I got to nominate someone.
Come on, give it to me.
I've got to nominate the Renault engines. It's a tie between Renault engines and George Russell this weekend. And
it is tough to pick, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Renault engines. We've already given George enough abuse, but the Renault engines are they have a lot of power this season, but they're just not good. Unfortunately, they're super unreliable, and I don't remember the last time. Like, there's the things like that are mutually exclusive, and it's probably Renault and reliability. They don't know each other. They've never met. They're complete strangers.
Yeah, I think Renault's reliability issues have probably been overshadowed a bit by Ferrari.
Yep.
If Ferrari were more reliable, I think we'd all be a lot more critical about Renault. But
yeah, I think that's completely valid, mate. Completely.
Yeah, but Renault just doing Renault things,
100%.
It's crazy to see that when your ex goes off to someone new and they're still behaving the same.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bring back I've forgotten his name. What was his name? Cyril. Bring back Cyril.
Cyril Squirrel Irritable.
Bring him back.
I liked better Cyril a bit of a tool. That one was probably
I like that one.
That was nice. It's got a good ring to it.
That sounds like that came straight from Horner's mouth.
He did Squirrel Irritable in an interview on Shithousing on TV, but a bit of a tool was definitely a garage favorite.
Yeah, so there you go. 2 ex-Red Bull engineers shitting on Renault engines. What's new?
Yeah, get it. So the next one is the...
Oh my god, it's Engine Good Boy.
Which is where we nominate somebody or someone from the weekend and give him some ups, man. Great job. Give him a little bit of that hype. Who we feeding the Engine Good Boy hype train to this weekend for you?
So I'm going to hype up Checo. I think he did everything he needed to do today, big himself up. But also, I do want to give an honourable mention to our good friend Fernando Alonso, who was having a bit of a mad one.
The Dark Lord himself.
The Dark Lord himself. Unfortunately, he was let down by his engine, which was unable to carry the size of his massive balls around.
Yeah,
sadly.
Exactly. I mean, those things are... How many stone do those things weigh?
Oh, they are big boys.
Yeah. Do the Spanish don't use stone, do they?
No. Kilograms, I think.
So you're getting some props to big man Checo.
Yeah, why not?
I think honestly Checo is definitely deserving of that one this weekend. He's had a good weekend. He's been on pace in qualifying, and he had a flawless race. He was one of the few people that did not fuck up in that race. And Alonso was looking good, man. The Dark Lord was on one. Thanks, Renault, for taking that from us.
Yeah, but I just noticed someone in the chat also has made a very good point here that we also need to big up Alex Albon for the fact that he nearly fucking died. Like, 2 weeks ago?
The dude was on a ventilator because his body shat itself after having his appendix removed.
Yeah, so honourable shout out to Alex as well for turning up.
Let's go, Alex.
That was a wild one.
Yeah, that was nuts, man.
Yeah, who have you got for your Engine Good Boy award?
Well, I really, really wanted to give it to Checo, but you've obviously given it.
Oh my god!
To our boy Checo. Yep. I'm on two minds. One of them is Lando Norris. Max was out of position. Fine. But Lewis had a nightmare. He was out of position. Russell was in the fight, but he was there and he took the points. Lando Norris on P4 is a freaking good one. That's solid. But also, some props to Huge Bird up on the podium, getting absolutely dripped and soaked in that champagne with his driver Sergio Perez, absolutely giving him a spray down treatment. That was stuff from one of those really weird films that I shouldn't talk about, but that was awesome to see Hugh getting a podium, getting up on there and spraying the champagne with the boys. They've had a long season and it's been some ups and downs, and they've been pretty good. But to get that dub, they've had Monaco, where who was on the podium in Monaco? Christian or Adrian?
Adrian.
Yeah, one of those guys, and then ex-simulator performance engineer turned race engineer, Hugh Bird, legend.
Huge Bird coming in hot.
I mean, he's a super tall bloke, so
he is.
That was super cool. That was super cool to see one of the homies up on that step.
Yeah, has he given you any more shit on Instagram recently?
No, he hasn't. The thing they're talking about is was it a YouTube video or something? Hugh Bird commented on my YouTube videos. He's like, "Hey, that's pretty good." Just being a dork, but I'm surprised he's bothering watching my shit YouTube content on Brrrake F1. Plug.
Yeah, who the hell would do that?
Nobody. Bots, mate.
Mid
Bots.
and washed.
Yeah, so Perez now has one less career win than Leclerc. Is that true?
If it's in our chat, it's definitely true.
Yeah, you guys are all frauds in the chat. So
I'm not even going to fucking fact check it.
That's fine. If anybody's wondering why we keep talking about the live chat, so we actually live stream the Engine Braking podcast on twitch.tv/BRRRAKE. And you'll just have to keep an eye on Twitter for when we're doing that. But it's a nice little opportunity to get involved and hang out with us while we're recording the pod. We chat, do a little chin wag before the episode, a little chin wag after the episode, and yeah, it's a pretty chilled out place. But yeah, so is that the episode, Dan? Is that the Singapore Grand Prix, the sweaty shithouse Singapore Grand Prix?
Yep. Big up everyone that is listening. Big up everyone that is out there visiting Orchard Towers.
4 floors.
4 floors of things we can't say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Derogatory terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it. A day early on the podcast because unfortunately I have fraudulently got employment and I am traveling for work. So if you're listening to this, I will be in Liverpool.
Hey, big up Liverpool.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I am still a degenerate full-time content creator, hanging out, making YouTube videos about Formula One, streaming on Twitch, and I'm actually exhausted, so I might play some Escape from Tarkov later this week. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for all the support on all the social platforms, on the podcast, on YouTube. We've applied for YouTube Partner, so we're going to hopefully lock that one down in the next couple of days, and we're just going to keep pushing out. We'll keep sending you guys... You know, if you don't have time to watch or listen to the whole podcast, that's fine. Tell your grandma about it. Tell her to tell her friends about it. They're gonna love it. We'll be posting content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Definitely be sure to follow Engine Mode 11, Engine Braking, and Brrrake on Twitter, and we'll see you guys there. And we will see you guys next week for a little Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, and we could be celebrating the Max Verstappen World Drivers' Championship in Japan.
I'm actually selfishly hoping it's until Austin because I am flying out to the US of A to go to the American Grand Prix. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I think I've got some tickets locked down for Friday, but who knows what I'm doing the rest of the weekend. I'll be out there having a couple of beers, definitely, having some barbecue. Terry Black's definitely on the list. Salt Lick, probably. Drinking
you are so goddamn Texan.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. But anyway, guys, stay fraudulent, and we will see you next week for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yes, thank you. Now, fuck off.